Please let me welcome 15-time Emmy Award winner and Pura Belpré honoree Sonia Manzano, better known around the world as Maria on the show Sesame Street. Bienvenida, welcome, ¿cómo estás, Sonia?
Gracias, un placer estar aquí contigo. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, we're very, very excited because you're coming back to the book world. You're coming with something new that has us very, very excited. And the book is called Coming Up Cuban, Rising Past Castro's Shadow from Scholastic. It's beautiful, the cover art is fantastic, and it tells the stories, the overlapping stories of Ana, Miguel, Zulema, and Juan, and the impact of the 1959 Cuban Revolution in their lives. What can you tell us about the main characters?
Well, Ana is the daughter of a disillusioned rebel. Miguel is a pampered boy of upper middle class family. Zulema is a poor Guajira girl who lives in the countryside and is illiterate. And Juan is an Afro-Cubano who lives in Havana, and he sells fruit with his grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to show people as different from each other as I possibly could, to show that when there are social upheavals like the 1959 Castro revolution, it affects everybody in different ways. And I wanted to show that by having the four different overlapping lives reacting to Castro's initiatives.
Yeah, it's a tumultuous time for sure. And most of us will never come close to a situation like that. I love that you are, this book, I guess it's aimed at young readers, correct? Who are you trying to reach with the book? What age segment?
Well, it's called a middle grade, and I would say like from 12 years old and up, I think. So it's I think it's very simply written, mm-hmm. And I took the four events that happened in Cuba that really affected the lives of children.
Mm-hmm. What inspired the book?
Well, this is a crazy story. I was at a party, at a cocktail book party, and there was an American man there, and he happened to mention that in 1959, he and his family had a chicken farm in mm-hmm. Cuba. And when Castro took over, they had to flee, and they had to leave everything behind. They came to the back home to the United States, and they had to leave their dog behind, and he was a heartbroken little boy. Mm-hmm. But not to worry too much, because 6 months later, the dog showed up in Miami on a boat from Cuba. Oh. So they were reunited. It was mm-hmm. the zaniest story I ever heard, and I thought, this will make a good story, a nice little picture book. Mm-hmm. But then my editor at Scholastic said, maybe you should dig around more and find out what else happened at that time to children. And then I did. And then that's when I learned about how many people had to leave their homes at a moment's notice, how quickly the revolution changed everything within months. Mm-hmm. And I learned about Operation Pedro Pan, where 14,000 children unaccompanied were sent to the United States. I learned about the literacy program because once I learned a lot about the children who left, of course I wanted to know what happened to the children who stayed, who didn't have that option. So that's when I learned about the literacy program and the Pioneros program, which was a military kind of inspired program that went on in schools.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to do all this research and to complete the book, approximately?
Oh my goodness, I think 5 years. I really wrote it in so many different ways from different points of views. I even wrote it from the point of view of a dog. Now you try explaining the Bay of Pigs through the eyes of a dog. I tried everything to find the four voices.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what I find most compelling about this story is that people will say, well, why are you going to come out with a book like this right now? So many years after. But I wonder, there's so many conflicts going on around the world. There's kids who are leaving their country without the company of adults, migrants from Central America. There's people living through war, and kids living through war in Ukraine at this moment. So I think there's something valid about telling these stories right now. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I agree, because it's not so particular about Cuba, though, you know, that was my interest, but it's this whole idea of families being torn apart and people's lifestyles changing at a moment's notice, where you're a middle class person and all of a sudden you're poor, or and you have to make do. Like, for example, my character Miguel is very a pampered boy, a boy who's used to being taken care of. And all of a sudden, when he has to, he rises to the occasion and becomes a strong man. So, these are the things that happen to people that I was interested in exploring. And you're right, it's happening in Ukraine, it's happening in the United States, when people are children are being torn apart from their families. And so it's worth examining, I think.
And well, we're almost coming up to the end of the interview, and it's always fascinating to talk to you, because I feel like you, through your craft, through your work, through your books, you have aimed at reaching out to young audiences. I guess with Sesame Street, you were speaking to like kids, right? Early generations. And now with this book, you're talking to also younger generations, a little bit older, but still young. After all these years, why is it so important for you to still reach out and touch their lives with these stories to the young generations? How important is it for you, and why is it important to you?
Well, first of all, I find kids inspiring. Like, if you see a bunch of kids and you say, like, okay, who can sing and dance? They all raise their hands. They're inspiring, and they find solutions. I think the young and kids are our only hope, because they will see the world positively and they will be able to solve problems. We don't have answers for kids. Actually, we have let them down. They can't go to school and be safe. They can't go to upper education, even if it's just community college, because it's so expensive. So really, as a society, I think that we have let them down. But what I can do is I can give them tools. And my tool is stories. Because if you know a lot of stories about different people, that gives you a tool to see the world in however way you want to see it. And that will empower you. So I think that's why I keep doing the work I do. I did it on Sesame Street. I'm doing it on Alma's Way, where I'm telling kids, which is my PBS show, you can think, everybody has a mind, you can do it. Because that is my tool that I can give the youth so that they can manage. That's all I can do.
It's so very inspiring. We're very, very excited for you coming up, Cuban. A very, very amazing book coming up soon. Thank you so much, Sonia Manzano. As always, gracias. Un placer.
Gracias, un placer.